ракети, фосфорні бомби, артилерію. Тривають дуже жорстокі бої. Маємо пройти через це, витримати все і вибороти життя. Україна має перемогти, і це буде. Підписав сьогодні указ про нагородження наших захисників. 79 воїнів відзначено державними нагородами, 158 військовослужбовців Нацгвардії, з них 21 посмертно, 26 прикордонників, з них 2 посмертно, 3 поліцейських, з них 2 посмертно, 2 працівника Державної митної служби, з них 1 посмертно. Вічна пам'ять усім, хто віддав життя за Україну. Вічна слава усім нашим героям. Слава Україні!
Героям слава, відповідаємо президенту України Володимиру Зеленському. В кінці всіх його звернень, всі ці дні, це Українське радіо, 3 година ночі в Україні, і це час для новин англійською мовою.
Ukraine security issue.
August 16th marks the 174th day of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. Today, the invaders had a stressful morning. Massive explosions were reported at an ammunition depot near the town of Jankoy in occupied Crimea. The reports came just as Russian soldiers were unloading a fresh batch of MLRS and artillery systems, preparing to use them to shell Ukrainian cities and villages. Russian ammunition, equipment and personnel used to be regularly transported via Jankoy. Now all trains arriving from areas occupied in the south of Ukraine have been suspended after the strike on Jankoy. There is no longer a railway connection. According to Refat Chubarov, chairman of the Crimean Tatar Majlis, the enemy forces had been accumulating equipment and ammunition in the storage facility for a long time and were planning to deploy during the new offensive on the Ukrainian mainland.
Є в Джанкойському районі село Майське. Того є закинуті ферми. І от в цих фермах росіяни створили дуже великий склад.
The village of Майське is located in the Jankoy area. You'll find abandoned farms there and a large ammunition depot the Russians have created to supply a new offensive on the mainland of Ukraine. Jankoy is a railway hub with regular deliveries of ammo and equipment. These explosions have damaged the railroad heading to the Ukrainian mainland, which is used to deliver military equipment and weapons to Kherson and Melitopol, said Refat Chubarov. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed the explosions, saying fire erupted at a site for temporary storage of ammunition of one of the military units. At the same time, the officials in Kyiv have reacted by saying the explosions in the military depots in Crimea are the demilitarization of the peninsula. Pictures Crimea within a peaceful, civilized country would have been a tourist hub for people to enjoy the maritime nature, the warm sun, seaside parks, the best wines and mysterious caves. Whereas now, a terrorist state has turned the occupied peninsula into a military base on the Black Sea coast. Earlier last week, we reported on explosions in a military air base in Crimea, used daily to target unarmed Ukrainian civilians. 9 planes were destroyed as a result. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine officially stated they cannot establish the reason for the fire and reminded of fire safety measures and the danger of smoking in unauthorized areas. According to Mykola Salamaha, Reserve Lieutenant Colonel of the Armed Forces, it could take the Ukrainian military from 1 to 1.5 months to liberate the part of the Kherson region that is on the right bank of the Dnipro River. He says the Russians are preparing to retreat since they are actively taking their families away from the occupied areas. Representatives of various Russian parties, state organizations and the military command are also fleeing.
Дії командування Збройних сил України по блокуванню угруповування ворога на правобережжі.
As the command of the Ukrainian armed forces blocks the enemy divisions on the right bank of the Dnipro River, sooner or later these territories shall be liberated. And those military experts in the Russian army who are able to assess the situation know perfectly what the outcome of the situation shall be. Therefore, no one wants to endanger their lives or health. So evacuation has begun not only for the military, but also for representatives of Russian political parties and state organizations. These groups of people now understand that it's better to flee sooner than later, said Mykola Salamaha. In the meantime, Russia is not subsiding with its aggression. It is actively using Belarusian territory to commit its bloody crimes, with strikes being launched on Ukrainian cities and villages. Today, the peaceful Zhytomyr region came under fire. According to preliminary information, the missiles were launched from Belarus. According to Belaruski Gayun monitoring group, currently Russia is accumulating significant force in Belarus for a massive missile attack on Ukraine. The monitoring group reports that 10-14 units of anti-aircraft missile systems and an ammunition depot with at least 15 to 60 S-300-400 missiles are currently stationed on the Zabrivka Air Base in the Homel region. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed that new missiles are delivered on Russian planes. They expect that the Russians can increase shelling from this area in Belarus on the 24th of August, Ukraine's Independence Day. Yuri Ignat, the spokesman for Ukraine's Air Force Command, commented on the situation.
Збройні сили України постійно спостерігають переміщення військ.
The Ukrainian armed forces are constantly monitoring the movement of troops and ammunition, Iskander missiles in particular. When an Il-76 lands on one of the Belarus air bases, it's clear that it has delivered ammunition. According to intelligence reports, the enemy is accumulating its forces on Belarusian territory, so we certainly have to prepare ourselves. Moreover, Independence Day is approaching. We understand that the enemy forces always use such dates to send their best regards. Therefore, we must be prepared and respond to air raid sirens, said Yuri Ignat. Russia has launched more than 22,000 strikes on civil infrastructure facilities in Ukraine over the last 6 months, of which only 300 landed on military facilities. According to Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, such steps are evidence of Russia's main aim being to destroy Ukrainian sovereignty and integrity. However, other European countries could also face the consequences of a terroristic shockwave. The nuclear threat is becoming ever so tangible. The situation on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant seized by the Russian military is out of control. Paradoxically, it seems that the Kremlin is enjoying keeping the world in tension, even though it's also under threat. Russian soldiers are still in total disregard of all safety rules on the nuclear power plant. They are storing their equipment and weapons in immediate proximity to the nuclear reactors and are shelling the territory of the plant. The International Atomic Energy Agency experts have sounded the alarm and have called on Russia to give access to the site of the nuclear power plant to evaluate the threat and keep the situation under control. But the Kremlin is ignoring all appeals of the international community. So it's time to apply clear and severe sanctions against nuclear blackmail, said President Volodymyr Zelensky, since Russia understands only the language of force. The presidential office is convinced that only the Iron Curtain is capable of saving the world from the aggression of the terrorist state. The Iron Curtain may be a chance for the Russians to get a taste of their own medicine and perhaps a chance for transformation.
В ефірі Українського радіо об'єднаний марафон провідних українських телеканалів і радіостанцій «Єдині новини ЮА Разом».